Welcome in. It is the Kelly Wells Show presented by Appalachian Wireless. I'm Andrew Joyce, and it's the Kelly Wells Show where we talk all things U-Pike basketball. We'll talk about the U-Pike men's basketball program. Of course, the Bears coming off a loss to Lindsey Wilson College, a rematch coming up with Mountain State, and we'll talk with the coach of the Bears, Kelly Wells, when we return. Right now, we talk all things U-Pike basketball. That means U-Pike women's basketball as well. Joined by assistant coach Taryn Duncan now. And Coach, welcome to the Kelly Wells Show.
Thank you.
Much better to have you here than Billy Watson. I have to say that. But we're talking U-Pike women's basketball and off to a 2-7 start. Obviously not the start you want from the coaching staff. But let's talk about the play of the U-Pike women up to this point. Have you been pleased with the effort? And it's early in the season, still a lot of newcomers to the team.
Right. You know, we have been pleased with their effort. When they get out there, that they play hard. They're so young, they just don't get it yet. And they haven't been able to put 40 minutes together. We've been able to put 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 35. When we played Shawnee, we played for 37 and a half minutes and gave it up in the last 2.5.
And a tremendous Shawnee State University team that's
Yes.
highly ranked nationally, a lot of national acclaim year in and year out.
They are, and I mean, we played with them toe to toe. We haven't been able to put 40 solid minutes together, and when we do, I think we'll have something great.
Of course, Cumberland's had a chance to see that game. Tremendous first half by the U-Pike women, and I think took a lead to the locker room. It was a tremendous first half. The second half just didn't quite come together. Newcomers to the team, Whitney Bell Jackson, one of your leading scorers, and she's still very, very young, a true freshman competing in the Mid-South Conference. And you've played in the Mid-South Conference. How long does it take for a freshman to adjust to the college game?
Depending on the person, you know, she was in high school. She's 6'2". She was obviously taller than everybody else. She's not used to the physical play down low. You know, it's still physical for a guard, but not so much. So, you know, she's getting beat and banged up every night, and she's just not used to that. You know, she's coming around. She had a great game on the inside against Lindsey Wilson. I think she had 25 and 8. So, I mean, she's getting there. It's just taking a little slower than we hoped it would.
And a high school senior doesn't automatically step onto a college floor.
Right.
And everything just clicked. The speed of the game is so much better, and also the talent level. Of course, high school basketball, you'll have a player or two or three on any particular team. You get to the college level, and everybody can play, particularly in the Mid-South Conference where there are very good women's basketball teams. Coming off Lindsey Wilson, a loss, still looking for consistency out of this team. Bluefield tonight, and that's a 7 o'clock start, and then Virginia Intermont coming up tomorrow night. A couple of opportunities for this U-Pike team to get healthy.
Yes, these are definitely winnable games. We've played both of them, both on the road, our first 2 games. Didn't perform like we had hoped. We had a great comeback at Bluefield. We had a great game out of our point guard, Megan Mosley. She competed. We just came up short. We know what both teams can do, and we know what we need to do to beat both of them.
All right. The University of Pikeville women, of course, competing and just there. A lot of newcomers to the program, and we're looking for the U-Pike women to get healthy tonight with Bluefield. Best of luck in that game.
Thank
coming
you.
up, I guess, as we tape about 40 minutes from now. I know you've got to get to the gym. Wish our best to the U-Pike women tonight.
Thank you.
Taryn Duncan, assistant coach with the University of Pikeville women's basketball program. We'll talk with Coach Kelly Wells as the Kelly Wells Show continues, talking U-Pike men's basketball. When we return, it's presented by Appalachian Wireless. Welcome back in. The Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. In studio tonight, a little change in the schedule, as here we are on a Monday night. We'll be back at Jerry's Restaurant next week for that edition of the Kelly Wells Show. Tonight, Monday night, because the Bears back on the road tomorrow night, a rematch with Mountain State University. Coach, before we talk about Mountain State and that matchup, let's back up and talk about last week. A trip to Williamsburg, playing shorthanded, and Shane Burrell not in uniform in that one. Good effort by your Bears team, and able to take care of business against a very good Cumberland's team that flat gets after you defensively. One of the lowest scoring college basketball games by both teams that I'd seen in a long time, 21-21 at the half, due to defensive effort both ways?
I think so. And anytime you play Cumberland's, you're going to be in for a fight. I mean, it's just going to be a hard-fought game no matter what. And we haven't had a lot of success in my tenure of going over there and winning. And to pull out a 16-point commanding second-half win was great for our team. I thought we grew a whole lot in emotionally, physically, team-wise. It was a great move for us. But it was low scoring. Our stats were terrible. We ended up shooting under 30% from the field, 11% from the three. Didn't shoot well from the free throw line. We're under 70% for the first time all season. Looking at the stat sheet, you wouldn't really thought we won that basketball game, and especially you wouldn't say by a commanding 16 points when at that time Cumberland still had not been defeated by anyone. So it was a great win on the road in a tough place for us normally to play. But I'm very proud of our guys' growth. I really thought some guys picked up their play. Our defense was tremendous. Shane was out that game due to missing a practice because he had some obligations back home. But great effort by our guys. I was really pleased.
After a 9-10 day layoff, you might make an excuse. You wouldn't. Some of us might make an excuse for a team coming off that kind of layoff with a change in the roster. Burrell not in the lineup. You might expect a slow start in a first half of play after that kind of layoff.
Well, you could, and we could look for excuses every day. I mean, there's not anything in our lives that we couldn't find something to blame something else on, and we've just decided that whatever hurdles in front of us, hurdles are made to be jumped. So we're going to just jump those hurdles all the time. And the same thing on Friday. We had some kids that had to travel back to take some exams, just another hurdle for us to make sure they're successful. So we drive them back and we get them back on playing where we're at. And Shane Burrell's father passed away on the way back from Lindsey Wilson trip, and we've just had a string of tough things to get through. But right. A lot of times, that adversity brings you closer, and I don't know why it is, but we've always had some adversity in our seasons, and we've always grown from it. And sure. That's the learning part of being a young man. And as a team, I'm proud of where we are as a group.
And we talk about all in. We talk about chemistry. We talk about the growth progress as you go through battles together. Those road games, they're battles in the Mid-South Conference. The adversities that your team faces last year with the Whitaker boys, and now more adversity hits the Bears program. And this team adjusting to roster changes, players not in uniform that have been in uniform, it's been constant. Has it been difficult for this team to fall into a routine, a level of comfort with the same guys on the floor?
It has been a learning experience in a lot of ways. Guys are still now taking on bigger roles, different kinds of roles. The bench guys are now moving a seat closer, and now they have a bigger role. So it has been some adjustment. I really feel like the Lindsey game, we really got caught up into knowing exactly the spots. And when you're really under fire and under pressure, you find out how comfortable guys are. And, sure. and I saw some things that we weren't good enough on. And those are small details that we can correct and we will correct. But, kids are resilient. It probably bothers me and you a lot more than it does them most sure. of the time. They just want to play basketball, go to school, have a good time. And what keeps us up at night, they sleep right through. So in a lot of ways, the kids are more resilient than probably us adults.
Number one team in the country, preseason rankings. We currently sit waiting for the rankings to be released for the first regular season edition of the rankings. Returning just one starter, off to a start where you've lost 3 of your last 4, and obviously going to fall out of that number one spot. How much does that affect this team? How much does that affect Kelly Wells?
Well, we kind of talked about it, and we knew that number one ranking wasn't particularly for our current team. It was more the work of the guys before them, and it wasn't really realistic, I don't think, to put us at number one with 1 starter back and 10 new faces. But that was a great honor, and it goes back to the thing where you got the bullseye on your chest now. And at Lindsey Wilson the other night, as disappointing as the loss was, when we shake hands after the game, their crowd rushes the floor. Yeah. That used to never even be thought about.
Right.
Nobody even knew Pikeville was even anything at that point when I first got here, and now people are rushing the storm in the court when when we play. People are chanting, "We want Pikeville," and so in some ways, it's gratifying to know that we've brought our program to a place of high interest for everyone, and that's neat. But again, the rankings are the rankings. It's so early right now that none of this really matters. From our preseason rankings to now, had opportunity to look at the way I'd voted, preseason was a totally different vote than today. So it's just going to have so much change between now and the time that it really matters. But we want to see get better. We want to keep ourselves in earshot of being in that national tournament for sure.
Normally, Mid-South Conference games, not even at the forefront of a coach's mind this time of year because of expansion in the conference. You have to play the Mid-South Conference schedule in December, in late November. And does that change the way you coach your team, the way you try to prepare your team? Because normally you have until January to get them started in years past.
Yeah, it's been unique. I think it's been different for everybody's front, from the media standpoint, from the coaches to the players to recruiting. Everything's been a little bit different. The schedule just couldn't have fallen or worked out probably any more complicated than it has. We got our 2 first road trips right before finals. Important tests, exams going through there. We get a great win versus Mountain State, and then have to try to go right behind it our arch rival Georgetown, and we were a little bit flat on that. Then my boo-boo and having to sit out the Shawnee State game, and just we've and some of those are self-inflicted. We've self-inflicted ourselves, and me included, and it's just felt tough for us. No excuse here, but it's just been tough, and we've managed to be 7-3, and we're 7 points away from being undefeated with just some small minor details, probably coaching-wise, that we'll take care of, and a lot of positives have went on, so we've got to look at the bright side.
And you talk about those 3 losses, 7 points separate you from 3 wins in those games, and you'd be looking at 10-0. You're not. How do you compare this team to last year's team on December 5th?
Yeah, it's interesting. Our schedule was obviously a lot lighter last year at this time. But I do see some similarities. I really do. We had a game against Lindsey Wilson. You'll remember at home last year that I was ready to hang up my whistle and give up coaching. It was the worst experience I had ever went through as a coach in a team. The same season we win a national championship. So it tells you that in the coaching profession, just like playing, you can't get too high, you can't get too low. And this year, the most embarrassing deal in my whole coaching career happened against Mountain State. And again, you can't ever get too high, too low. And this is just part of it. Good Lord puts those obstacles in front of us to challenge us to see what we've got in our heart. And we know the race that we're running, and we're going to keep running it the right way.
Coach Kelly Wells, and it is the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless, as we come to you from studio tonight. Of course, the Bears on the road to Beckley tomorrow night to take on Mountain State University. It's a 7 p.m. tip-off. We'll have coverage beginning at 6:40 on Z-Rock 107.5. We'll talk about Mountain State. We'll wrap up Lindsey and Cumberland's last week as we talk all things U-Pike basketball with Coach Kelly Wells, presented by Appalachian Wireless. Welcome back in. The Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. In studio tonight due to U-Pike scheduling. Of course, the Bears on the road tomorrow night in Beckley, West Virginia to take on Mountain State University. A rematch of an exciting basketball game at the Expo Center, and we'll just leave that right there. Of course, the Bears pick up a win over Mountain State in that one, 98-93. Great atmosphere much of the way in that one. And Coach Kelly Wells, I know it's a game that you're not necessarily pleased with the way things turned out other than the win, but you go to Mountain State, little different situation as you go to Beckley than what we saw when that game took place back on November 16th. Different look to the Bears, and I think Mountain State still will be bringing their best as you guys go into Beckley tomorrow night.
Which is no different from 100% of the teams we play. We're starting to figure out that everybody's going to give us their best effort. We don't have I don't know if it's a luxury or not, but the luxury of being able to play poorly and win. From all our games from this date forward are games we have to play well to win. That's every conference game. That's every out-of-conference game from this point to tournaments. So that puts some pressure to us, but also helps us perform at our high level. And probably one of the best basketball games I've ever been a part of was the one in Pikeville. We had a great crowd. Our student body was off the charts tremendous. Our community was tremendous. It just was unfortunate the way that it finished, other than the fact that we won. They'll be hungry to get back, and we beat them the last 2 times in pretty significant games, and but same time we'll be pretty hungry to get a win too. So our guys are excited about it. The complexions changed a little bit with our roster being different, but again, this is another learning experience. It's an out-of-conference game, another good special moment for our roster, or for our rating system. I mean, I think it's a great hit to be able to say you swept Mountain State in a series. So it's something we want to try to get.
4 games into the Mid-South Conference schedule, you've had a chance, and your staff has had a chance to see some other Mid-South Conference teams. And your thoughts now, this far into the conference schedule, who wins the conference? Not necessarily by a team, but how many losses and still a team could win this conference?
It's going to be tough. I tell you, it's probably a 4 to 5 loss team that's going to win this thing. There's really not, and I know sometimes we just kind of say it, but there's really not a team in our league that can't beat anybody on a given night. Yeah. Shawnee's proved that against us in Campbellsville. Sure. Ryle Grant, if you sleep on them, they'll beat your tail. They did everything in the world but win at Campbellsville already. Right. So I mean, they've got a tremendous team. And you look at West Virginia Tech, who doesn't count, is 7-1 right now.
Right.
And all the way up. UVA wise, you just keep going. All our teams are quality, and you got teams of St. Catherine's, maybe the most athletic team in the country. They are tremendous. They're just a tremendous team, and obviously Georgetown and Cumberland's are right at the head of the league right now. We've gotten beat by Lindsay, and so it's really overwhelming when you think about the whole conference. And as the Raider now, it's really overwhelming to see how many quality teams that we have that deserve to be in the top 25, and obviously they won't let us put them all in there, but it's overwhelming.
No doubt about it. And of course, we talk about the Mid-South Conference, and we feel like it's the premier NAI basketball conference in the country. And every year we look for a team that, well, maybe they're going to have a down year, and a team will be able to maybe pencil in a win before you even go play. It's not the case in the Mid-South Conference, and in particular this year, because it seems everyone's raised their game.
They have, and everybody's gotten to where they're very competitive. The resources are more even spread out now, and it's just college basketball parity overall has really increased. And you see a lot more Division I teams are getting beat by NAIAs in Division II, and NAIAs beating Division II schools. So it's the parity's great in our league. That's a great thing. It's just a stressful thing. It's really tough, and you're trying to get yourself into those top 3 teams in our league to get yourself guaranteed into the national tournament. It makes it tough. It makes it overwhelming.
No doubt about it. It makes for a great Mid-South Conference tournament, and we'll look forward to that. Coach, Mountain State tomorrow night in Beckley at the Armory. A great following expected from U-Pike fans. Maybe the best road crowd, except for Kansas City last year in the national tournament. A lot of U-Pike fans excited about that game. They'll be making the trip over. How do you approach that game with a different roster set than you had in that game? Do you approach it any differently? Do you attack the same way?
We'll approach with some differences. They've got some guys playing a little better now than we're playing at the beginning. They've shifted some role assignments in their team as well, not so much personnel. So we'll have to make some adjustments defensively. Obviously, putting Josh Whitaker in at the point guard spot has made us a little different complexion of a team, putting McHenry on the wing. But we still have to do the same thing. We still have to be very physical on the inside because of their size. They're number 1 rebounding and shot blocking team in the country. So we have to counter that by being very physical. Shooting the ball obviously is something we'll need to do well, and guarding their perimeters. Peterson, Williams, and Miller, all 3 can shoot it equally as well, and all very well. So our work's cut out for us. We played a little bit of zone against them last time. Our man was more effective, and we'll try to do some of that just to keep them off balance again this time, and try to keep them out of rhythm. But it's not really going to change most of the time for our game plan. We're going to be who we are, and hopefully make other people adjust to us in a lot of ways.
Of course, Mountain State, it's a 7 o'clock tip-off in Beckley as we're awaiting the national rankings to be released. still not released tonight. So we'll have those tomorrow evening to talk about during our pregame. We'll be on the air at 6:40 from Beckley as the Bears take on Mountain State. And, Coach, we're out of time for tonight's show. Just want to thank you, and we look forward to a Bears win tomorrow night.
We can't wait. Seems like time flies when you're having fun. I sure appreciate it.
Indeed. It's the Coach Kelly Wells Show, where we talk U-Pike basketball. It's presented by Appalachian Wireless. Tune in tomorrow night, 6:40 to Z-Rock 107.5. The Bears on the road to Beckley to battle Mountain State University. A rematch ×2. We'll be there to bring it to you. We'll be back next Tuesday from Jerry's Restaurant with the Coach Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless.